All right, y'all. It's another episode of Looking Through the Glass. We are pushing these episodes today. Not today, but all the time. And yeah, sleepy brain. Um, we are your hosts. We got Sela and we got me, Jeselle, and we actually now have a new guest, Leah, and we're really excited and ready to learn more about her journey.
Yeah, hi. How are you all? It's great to be here.
We're doing good. We're good. We're glad to have you here.
I had one question. I had one that's been sitting with me for a good minute since I've read your when you messaged us. Um, you said something about baptizing yourself,
Yeah.
and that really resonated with us
Yeah.
because that's something we very much look into and we see. But what was your version of baptizing yourself?
Yeah. I think that's a great place to start. So we'll just
Leave it to the sleepy brain.
dive right in. Yeah. So, I've had a long healing spiritual journey. And my connection to the divine has been a really, really important part of that healing journey. Um,
Yeah.
I went on my first spiritual journey to Teotihuacan, Mexico, almost 14 years ago now. And it was transformational in many ways. But the most powerful thing was when I went to visit the Tilma of Guadalupe, which, if you don't know the story of Guadalupe, definitely look her up. And I'm happy to share that at some point. But she states in this, like, who am I but not your mother? Bring your burdens to me. And I was sitting on this site, this sacred site that the indigenous Mexicans, the pre-Columbian Mexicans, had gone to seek, uh, you know, spiritual connection to the Divine Mother, to the the goddess, to this idea that divinity and spirituality could be feminine. And so as I sat there, it was the first time in my life that I recognized that my spiritual journey was mine, not what anybody else told me, not that it came from the ordained or it came from something outside of me. It was something that I got to define for myself. And I got to define through my connection with the divine and activating that within me. And that's been a really powerful part of my journey, through activating the power of creativity to heal my trauma and heal that space. Um, but what it really came down to is I realized that I had the ability to baptize myself, and we all do. We are our own healers. We are our own, people who bring that divinity and that spiritual connection into ourselves. And it's when we open our hearts and allow that to come in that, for me, the massive transformation has occurred. And so when I say, and in fact, my second book that is currently in developmental editing, the title of it is Girl Baptize Yourself, because we as women leaning into our own journeys and our own healing and connecting to the divine and the power that's within us to activate that is what it's all about. And so yeah, that's where Girl Baptize Yourself comes from.
I think that's so awesome because that's something we started when going up through our own healing journeys. Ours has been like together and separate at the same time, and we very much experienced that too. We spent a lot of mine's nature. I love just being in
Yes.
nature alone.
That's being with God to me. That's my sanctuary.
Yeah,
Nature.
listening to the trees rustle in the wind. You got the birds chirping. Just I love the serenity of it. And around last year, around the same time, actually, we went to Arkansas and we found this beautiful, beautiful fresh spring waterfall.
Good.
Yes, it was cold, very cold. And we like, I could not get under the waterfall completely because it would have just, it was deep.
It was really deep right underneath there.
But we were just sitting there splashing the cold water on us, and it just was really rejuvenating, and it was an experience. It was such a spiritual experience to just be with nature and let our healing just flow with nature itself, and letting us heal and letting the spiritual, spirit guide us in whatever direction we needed. And it led us to this. Very much led us to this. So, but I think that's really a beautiful, I love that you got to see sacred grounds, though. That is where I want to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there are sacred places all over the world. And then to that point, we also have the power to create our own sacred spaces that allow us to access, if it's in nature or through altars, whatever it is that is your portal to that connection is what I really encourage, right? And, the Divine Mother is Mother Nature. It is that connection with the power that comes from that space, and it's wherever you are, being able to call in, your ancestors and your guides, and then honoring the ancestors of the lands that you're on is really, for me, been a powerful way to create that portal and that access, no matter where you are. And so I think that's one of the beautiful things that we all get, should we choose to be able to access that energy wherever we are. So, and and there's the sacred sites that I travel to, especially in central Mexico, are potent, and there's certainly vortexes and powerful portals that allow this amplified energy that perhaps you don't find in other places. But I also find that when you instill that in your heart, you can activate it anywhere. So.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I definitely agree on you can create your, there's nothing else we can be made of other than the creator. So if we are made of the creator, then we are also creators.
I love that.
That's the way I look at it. That's the way I feel about it. That's the way I see it in my heart, is that since we are made of nothing but the creator, there's nothing else we could be made of. So therefore, in a sense, we are the creator in ourselves.
Yeah. And I can, really lean into that. So my journey has been an interesting one. I was actually in politics for 25 years. And I had what I call an addiction to success. Like, the next success is what drove me. It was my trauma response. And, at points in time, I filled it with secondary addictions like alcohol. And it was, a point in time when life was super dark, and seeing a way out just wasn't there. And I had this deep feeling inside of me that there was something more, that there was something different, that there was a power somewhere that I needed to connect to. And that's, a beautiful way to say it is, we are the creator because the creator is in us. And mm-hmm. For me, I had always leaned into creativity, as in art and drawing and doodling and journaling and all of those things, as a way to process my trauma. And as I really leaned into it as a way intentionally to connect to the divine, I realized that exact thing. We are the creators of our reality. Where we put our energy, where we put our intentions, is where our life flows. And so I was able to lean into that power of transformation and literally transform my life from being a person who spent 25 years in politics to now an author and an artist and someone who is a mentor to women on the spiritual journey, because we are all creative and we get to create the life and the abundance that we want. And for me, it's come through intentionally using paint and doodles and drawing and the power of that creativity that's within me. So
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So tell us a little bit more about your first book. You're talking about your second book. Tell us a little bit more about your first book and how you came to writing it, if you don't mind.
yeah, no. So my first book is Finding Fantastic Joy. It's kind of my overarching effort these days, for lack of a better word. And so back in 2019, I was a local elected official. I was living in active addiction and trauma cycles, and I hit a wall. I mean, after 2 suicide attempts, I had 2 small children. I was dealing with depression, postpartum depression, chronic PTSD, a whole host of, really uh, challenging mental health items. And so I, at one point, just realized, like, if I don't change something, I'm not going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were successful at taking my own life, not only was I going to perpetuate cycles of generational trauma and addiction for my kids, I was going to make it worse. And so I had a choice. And at that point, I, leaned into it. I went to a rehab facility. And while I was there, what I actually did was wrote the press release to withdraw from my reelection campaign. And I always say that's one of the single hardest things I've ever done, because I
I
was,
was just getting ready to say that must have been very, very difficult, especially when you're addicted to success because you're identifying your success. You need that success to help keep you going.
yeah. And I mean, to me, that was then failure. Like, by
Yeah.
withdrawing, by admitting I was, even at that point, the whole story wasn't, fully public, but even by admitting I needed to step back and I couldn't do it all, and I couldn't be a mother and a community leader, and that all the things that I felt that I needed to prove something, I felt then that sense of failure. But at that point, it really started to shift, because started to understand is that lifestyle, that trauma cycle, was perpetuating the generational trauma and addiction that had been passed down to me. And if I didn't stop, again, it was going to be passed to my kids in the exact same way. And
Hmm.
so I wrote that press release. And for me, that the alcohol was really a secondary addiction. It filled the pain of failure, which obviously comes when you're trying to be the most successful ever.
Yeah.
And as I sent that press release and then moved on with parts of my life, it allowed me to start to release that need. But it would still take me 5 more years working in politics before I could fully say, no, I'm done. Like, I cannot do this anymore. My worth is not defined by these external validations, these external accomplishments. My worth comes because I am simply a human who shows up with love and gratitude. And but my first book was kind of written in the middle of that. So it was the story of really releasing the maternal trauma, the challenges that I had with my mother. And my mom passed away 12 years ago. So that journey was really challenging when she was here in human form. And it's been a beautiful healing journey with her in spirit form. And she's certainly been with me the whole time. And she was an artist too. So leaning into that power of creativity is really leaning into that
When
maternal
you
healing.
connect with her.
So,
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
I had a question,
I was
and my
you
brain
went to say
totally
something. That's why I looked at you. She went
yeah,
to say something and
my
it went blank.
yeah, my brain totally it was like, we're not gonna ask that today. It's been one of those fun times with the brain. Go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to ask because you.
It's great, don't you love it? Whenever we do these kinds of things, we're never prepared. That's how authentic we like to keep it. Is we're never prepared.
No, we're not.
Honestly, I'm gonna ask this one. What was your relationship with your mom, and how has that informed you as a mother? Since we were on that
Yeah.
topic.
Um, I think I spoke, so it's fascinating now because I feel so little angst about the relationship with my mother compared to where I was, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Because we've healed together.
Mhm.
And I think my mom was doing the best she could with the tools that she had given the situation. And she too was living with that generational addiction and trauma and her own traumas that she endured while she was alive. And and so I think for me, when she was alive, there was this pressure to prove, this pressure to believe that my success is what would earn me that love. Um, and what I, now understand is she was literally doing the best she could. And at some point I mean, that's all we all can do at any
That's all
given
we all can
moment,
do. Yeah.
given given the tools and the dynamics and where we are in life. And it was challenging when she was alive, but really leaning into that power of grace and healing and hope has allowed me to redefine that relationship. And then as a mother myself, I get to be the mom that I wanted that I didn't have. And so for me, that's healing too. And I actually think I said in my first book, one of the things that, every time I say I love you to my children, it's like I'm saying I love you to my little self too, right? And it's this
Hmm.
process of us doing it differently together. And my kids are as much a part of that as I am. They lean into it as well. And they're the beautiful little souls that have been sent to me on my journey. And they teach me and they push me to grow. And they give me the opportunity to be that mother that I desired and I needed. And, I say I love you 1,000 times a day because it was all I longed to hear. And so, but it's a beautiful journey. And it's one of those things that when you know more, you do better, right? It's the Maya Angelou quote, and that's all we can do. So,
Hmm.
I love that. I really do because I'm inspired by that because I feel the same way. Yes, she's right there, but this is things that we talk about. There's things that I didn't receive. She was not very much the cuddly, loving mom. I mean, she loved me and I knew she was, but she was working 4 jobs, trying to survive. She was in a very abusive relationship. And I was inflicted in that abusive relationship too. He was very abusive towards me, and it was just a necessary to survival. And I very much took on to that and was like, I refuse to be in that situation. I will never be in that situation, and I will recognize it. See the red flags. We all say that. Every woman can say that, but you don't always see the red flags. Luckily, I have not been in a abusive relationship, but the mother part of it, I very much was like, I want to be able to have a safe space for my child to come to me and talk to me, because I didn't feel that I had that growing up. And there's all these little things I was like, I want this for my child because I didn't have that, and I want that for them, because you understand that pain, you understand that fear and everything that comes with it. So I love hearing other people, other moms, and do that, and it gives me like, I can do it. I know I can do it. Like, it gives me hope and faith and all of that.
well, and I mean, what a inspirational story you two are in that case, right? Like you're living out the healing and
Yeah.
showing that, you know, we can forgive each other. We at
Oh yeah,
any moment, life is hard. I mean,
it really is.
absolutely. Like, and we can't pretend it's not. Like, there's always going to be something that's hard.
Mhm.
It's, how we lean into the process of healing and hope and just general optimism about where we go. One of my favorite authors and thought leaders is Brad Stulberg, and he calls it tragic optimism. This idea and recognition that life is hard, but we can choose optimism anyway. And I think, you know, being able to sit together and have those really hard conversations and grow together, that's amazing and beautiful and powerful and, you know, honestly, something we don't see all that often. So cheers to you.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
kind of why we did it, is because it's something you don't see that often. And, not everybody, and I'm not saying that we're counselors in any way,
Oh,
shape, or
no.
form.
Don't.
We only speak off of our own experiences. Everything we talk about is our own experiences. But if we can show others that we can have those hard conversations are needed in order for you to get through to the healing part. In order for you to get through to the beautiful, you got to get through the ugly. You have to
Yeah.
go through the uglies to get to the beautiful, and that's just the way it goes. That's what this world is intended for us to be, for us to grow. We're here to grow. We're not here to be stagnant. We're not here for any of that. And that's why we love having people like you and, so many other beautiful souls that come on here and give those encouraging, no, you can grow. You can grow. And you can do it. You're capable. You have so much more in you than you even know, you know?
Yeah, I think that's powerful, right? And if we lean into, this is a word that's been really present in my life recently, is curiosity. So I was just an author in a collaborative book that came out this week called Healing Curious Humans. And it's that superpower of curiosity, right? Like if we're not wedded to something, if we're not like, this is my story and it will never change, then we are allowed to grow and change and move and be nimble. And, kind of back to my story with my mother, for so long, and even in my first book, my story was defined by this moment where my mom told me on her deathbed that she thought I was a disappointment. And that was part of,
Okay. You were talking about with your mother.
yeah, I was leaning into curiosity because that's, like I said, like, so that's been something where I've been at for this last year, being part of that book project as a Healing Curious Humans, leaning into this idea of curiosity. And what a powerful word. What a powerful word for healing, because when we lean into that and we don't think of things as rigid and this is my story and these are the facts and this is what defines me, we allow ourselves to be nimble and change and grow and heal in ways that you never could have even imagined. And it
Imagined.
allows that release of limiting beliefs. And so I was telling the story. So, my mother, when she was on her deathbed, my story forever was she told me I was a disappointment. And, you know, I leaned into that, and it was what defined me. It was my story. It was what I told over and over and over again. And it was even part of my first book because I hadn't really leaned fully into that story with the curiosity that would allow for a different kind of healing. And so as I leaned into it more, I realized, like, one, there was some personal responsibility I needed to take in it because at that point, when my mom was on her deathbed, I was perpetuating cycles of generational trauma and addiction. I mean, I was in active alcohol addiction. I was actively in that success addiction. It was rough and dark. And what she saw in me, she might not have had the language to say it in a way that felt loving and supportive, but she was disappointed. And I look back at that and I mean, I would be disappointed too, should I have choose to continue those cycles of addiction and trauma. And
I think you were already in a state of disappointment. When we're in those cycles, we're
yeah.
disappointed in
Oh, I
ourselves.
mean, yeah, the guilt and the shame that just,
Yeah, the shame and the guilt, we're perpetuating nothing but disappointment in ourselves when we're in that kind of active addiction and trying the people
Yeah.
pleasing and those kind of cycles, you know.
You're constantly shaming yourself.
Yeah. And so when I realized, like, well, she didn't say it in a way that probably was as loving and supportive as, but again, she was doing the best she could. And coming to understand that, like, her side of the story was she wanted what was best for me too, even though she couldn't quite say it in a way that resonated and landed with me. And it's like, whoa, like, that shifts that entire story. One, I'm not the victim, like, anymore. Like, I have to be an active participant in that story too. And when we start to own our own parts and lean into curiosity with healing, with our own healing, it shifts everything, and it allows for more growth, and it allows for more space for that change and healing.
It does.
It really does.
It does. I as well had very difficult relationship with my mother due to the generational curses, due to the generational traumas, you know, and it creates that hard relationship. And you know, my mother and I have had a beautiful journey of healing and our relationship as well. But I completely understand where the shaming and all of that kind of fell in. Very, very resonates very, very highly.
I think it's a very common thing for a lot of people.
I think it's the most common thing that we're facing.
Generational trauma is just the most common thing that people are facing, especially in today. I have friends, me personally, I'm seeing it with a lot of people, and,
It's definitely the hot topic.
and I'm really glad that it is, though. I'm glad that it's a topic that that people, not only us, are willing to tackle and bringing it into a recognition, because I've seen people, our family, go, generational trauma, you're just not wanting to take responsibility for your own actions. And it's like, that's not...
It's not what it's about.
No, it's not. Exactly. That's not what it's about.
There's a whole lot more layers to that right there.
So there are people who still refuse to recognize the generational trauma.
Generational trauma.
I'm starting to end up having tech trauma right at this point. I'm starting to really have tech trauma because I'm so tired of technology right now.
She's showing symptoms of tech PTSD right now.
Yeah.
I'm not
Again,
a tech person.
Apologies.
No, all good.
Thank you for being such a great trooper about it.
I just kind of leaned into this whole thing of, lean into what you can control and let go of everything else, right? And if you can't control it, then don't try to, and just
don't try to, because you're just setting yourself up for failure and misery.
It makes life a lot easier and a lot happier. But
I have noticed, talking about that, I just kind of want to go into that for just one quick second. I have noticed in my healing journey and from other people's that I've talked to is that when you start really diving into that curiosity healing and you really allow yourself to explore and not be so by the book, I have noticed that people have let go of those things. They stopped trying to control. The control, when you surrender, because I think for me, the curiosity healing for me was more of a surrender. I was surrendering to what I was being led, what I was feeling. I surrendered and I opened my heart to it. And that in there allowed me to just go, okay, all I need to do is just show up. That's all I can do to control my life, is just show up for today. show up this time, just keep showing up. And in that, I have really calmed that need to control everything and that anger that goes along with it and the frustration and all of that. I have really, really calmed down on that and so much. I'm sure it's been the same for you.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
I mean, when you stop trying to control everything, it just you get to actually stop and appreciate the beauty of life, right? Like just the little things that you might not otherwise because you're trying to make something happen. And
I didn't even realize how much I was trying to control. I
yeah,
had no idea how much I was trying to control until it started kind of unfolding. It was like, wow, well, that was stupid. How come I was trying to control that? That doesn't make sense. You know?
one of my this leans into control, but just in general, one of my favorite little like spiritual practices is going out, and you can do it in your backyard, you can do it anywhere, in nature, and picking up rocks and stones of the mother and putting those things into her. Like, I don't want to let this go, let this go, let this go. And then, yeah. So, one of my favorite spiritual practices is go outside in nature, anywhere, your backyard, it doesn't matter, but, and collect the stones of the mother and put that control, put those heavy burdens, put those things that no longer serve you into them, like infuse the rocks with that energy and then release them. I mean, if it's anger, maybe throw them. I don't know. But
Not
whatever
far.
you do to let that go and give them back to the mother, because she takes that as compost and she utilizes that and gives us back, then that energy, and now you're cleansed, you have this space and this openness because you've gotten those things literally out of you, and allows for space for you to receive new things and new energy. And that really allows that curiosity, right? Like when you're open and you have space to receive, ask, like, what is it you want me to know? What messages should I carry forward? What is hope and healing and love, and receive that love, receive that hope, and receive that feeling. And the process of literally getting it out of you and then receiving new. And that's the same thing I do with my intentional creativity classes, through painting, is intentionally putting brush strokes into the painting of, whether it's release, whether it's love, whether it's gratitude, but the process of getting it out of you into becoming compost of the mother and allowing that space inside of you, and then you can receive that beautiful energy, and it allows that transformation, which is all of the work that I do these days. So
That's amazing. I love that. So when you say infuse, so I'm going to ask you this. When you say infuse, because there's a lot of people that don't understand how energy work, how to do energy work. So what's the best way you can explain to somebody on how to infuse those emotions into those rocks? How would you explain to how to do that?
I mean, I think it's everyone's own process, right? But leaning into it, maybe it's speaking them into it. Maybe it's just visualizing those going into the rocks. I'm holding my hands like this and pretending like I'm holding rocks. I have rocks everywhere in my house, so I could have just
We
grabbed
do
one.
too. That's why we laugh.
Yeah,
That we
me
do too.
too.
I have crystals everywhere. I have rocks
I
everywhere.
I have sticks. I have like a collection of the mother all around me all the time.
Yep.
Um, and sticks work too. I mean, anything, right? Like, but it's just a matter of and
Just kind of
feeling.
holding them and just kind of feeling it and putting it, intentionally thinking about putting it into the rock.
Correct. Yeah, that
Okay.
that process of, and then intentionally putting it in back into the, or
And leaving it there,
yeah,
right? You want to leave it there. Don't bring it with you. Now it's done and over with. It's gone. It's no longer yours.
right. So you can gently set them, you can plant them, you can do whatever you're called to. And I mean, that's back to the very beginning of this idea of like, girl, baptize yourself. Like,
Your
what,
journey is your own.
feel into what activates you and your heart, and know that she'll hold it. And that's what she does. And so,
Hmm.
you know, and create your own practice with it. Like, that's where, pick up rocks and even say, like, ask out loud, like, what shall I do? Like, where shall I go? And as you're called, that's do that. So,
Yeah, and to let all our listeners know, you're not crazy if you do it.
oh,
It's okay to look crazy. It's fun sometimes.
Because I'm one of those, I talk to myself, so.
but and I think that again, we have this like perceived notion of what spirituality should look like.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and
Very much so.
for me, when I've spent so much time in central Mexico, but just around the world, and observing how people all over the world activate their own spiritual connection, and that, traveling to countries that are deeply spiritual. And I think here in the United States, we've done a really fine job of manufacturing a disconnection. So
Yes.
we
Agreed.
we don't have that visceral spiritual connection that other places do. And when you travel there and you feel that energy and realize that that's accessible, um and again, it's accessible by just going in your backyard and, releasing that into it. But stop following the rules. Like, there are no rules. Like, you get to define
Thank
what it
you.
looks like for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stop following the rules. It's your own personal spiritual journey. It is
We're all
between
different.
you and your guides, you and your ancestors, you and yours, because it is your world.
Yes. But I mean, and that's like when I do intentional creativity classes, right? Like, people come in and they're like, tell me what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like,
I can't tell you what to do.
there are no rules. You get to create and paint what's inside of you. It comes out of you. And that leaning into that idea that there are no rules. Like, you get to create a space that, leaning into love and gratitude and kindness and all of those things, and and accessing that portal through your own heart is what then gets to define what that spiritual connection looks like for you. And, back to the manufactured disconnection, for me it was like, wow, spirituality can be feminine and colorful and all these things that I didn't believe that they could be, or I didn't even, like, I hadn't recognized that that was something. And as I've leaned into, and for a long time I was afraid to tell people that that's what my belief was, and that's,
Hmm.
that people pleasing, do what we're told kind of thing. And
The fear-based decision making because you're so afraid of what other people are going to think about you.
right. But
Yeah.
as I've leaned into her and the gifts that she provides, like, it creates that abundance and releases that fear and scarcity and allows for that growth. So,
I love it, Leah. I love it so much.
You're stuck with us. We love you.
I'm in.
You're an amazing person.
Yes, you are definitely stuck with us. If anybody wanted to find your first book, jeez, and I know you said the second one's in the works. Where would they be able to find them?
You can find out all sorts of things about me. The retreats that I lead to Mexico, the books, my artwork, which is all really rooted in the divine feminine. It's all at Finding
I'm
Fantastic
very
Joy.
interested in looking at your artwork. I haven't seen any yet. I'm gonna have to go look.
Yeah, so on my website, findingfantasticjoy.com, there's an artwork store, that has some of it there. So,
And so everything else is on there. And what I'll do is when we go and release this, I'll put it. I will put it in the description so that way people are able to find it. Because I can listen and not know how to spell something, or so I'll definitely put that in the description for all of our listeners and followers.
And you can order a copy of the book through the artwork store actually too.
Oh, fantastic!
Awesome,
fantastic.
Do you have a release date for your second one yet?
Early, probably first quarter of 2026 is the goal.
Okay. So we got a little bit.
Yeah.
Get time to read that first book and then we'll be ready for the second one.
Even if you're a slow read.
I hear it's a pretty quick read. That's what I've been told. The first one is.
Well, thank you so much, Leah. I really like how you put things in perspective. I will go ahead and let our followers know that they can follow us on Facebook. And put it up there because we know how to spell things apparently across the board. They can follow us on Facebook. They can also follow us on TikTok with Looking Through the Glass. See, I told you we don't know how to spell. We are also, if you want to listen to us, we are on Apple Music, podcast. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify. I totally was gonna Willy Wonka that. And you can also listen to us on YouTube. And of course, if anybody wants to reach out and needs to speak their story, needs a safe space to talk, anything that they want to talk about, or just need somebody to put their story out there, you can email us at the bottom. And
you can stay anonymous so we can read it out for you if you don't want to if you don't want people to know who you are. We're more than happy to do that.
We know that
because your story, there is learning in it.
We know that some people do not want their identity out there and very want to keep their identity sacred. We understand that. And once again, we are here for another day. Greatly appreciate everybody who listened, and we appreciate Leah being on and being patient, so patient.
Don't listen to our software. We like you.